more time. How can my clients who have a PPO or a POS plan, so they have out-of-network coverage, get reimbursed, right? Okay, so you have 3 billing options as an out-of-network provider. Option 1 is the usual way that most out-of-network providers work, and this is the no assistance to client. Basically, the client pays in full at the session, and you give them a super bill, also known as an invoice, also known as a statement. Usually it also has a few more things on it, which we're going to talk about. So client pays you in full, you're just giving them an invoice. They take care of dealing with their insurance plan. Client submits a super bill to the plan for reimbursement. Sometimes they have to attach it to a form from the employer or the insurance plan, and then they get reimbursed. The good side, obviously, no financial risk to you. You've already been paid. No hassles in billing. The cons, you may lose clients who are unable to pay in full upfront. Clients have to figure out where and how to submit bills. A lot of your clients aren't even going to bother, especially if you have depressed or anxious clients. It seems like too much work. Even if you gave them a super bill, they don't always submit it because they don't really figure out how to do that. That can lead to treatment dropout. Another option, which I call courtesy billing light. There's actually 2 kinds of courtesy billing. The client pays you in full, same thing, but you submit the super bill for them. I'm just telling you about this because some people do it. Some therapists do it. Like you might do that by mail or electronically, and then the plan reimburses the client. So really all you're doing is taking care of submitting the claim for them to help your clients get reimbursed. You've already been paid. The pros, obviously, no financial risk. You've already been paid. It may attract some new clients if you advertise this, that I'll take care of the billing for you. Helps them get reimbursed. Maybe they stay longer, right? The cons, some hassle, obviously, for you, but many therapists say it's minimum once you get kind of set up. Now, here's option 3 that I know some therapists are doing, and I just want to tell you I don't recommend it. It works for some people, but I don't recommend it. I'm going to call it full courtesy billing. And this is when the client pays only their out-of-network co-insurance, which is whatever their portion of the session that you anticipate that they're going to be responsible for. You bill insurance for the rest, even though you're out of network, and the plan reimburses you. That's called accepting assignment. You have to put that on the claim form. The pros, this is great for the client, right? They're only having to pay maybe their 30% or whatever every time they come to see you. And that may make sessions way more affordable to clients who can't pay in full up front. But the cons, and this is why it's the most work for you, first of all, and it has the most potential for the plans to screw up. And health plans are really good at screwing up payments, but they often will pay the client instead of you because they're used to that with out of network. They're used to paying the client. So you're waiting to get paid. The plan makes the check to the client. Now you're chasing down the client who may have left therapy at this point for payment. You might not get paid. It's also not always easy to figure out how much to collect from the client, what their cost share is going to be for those sessions. So for a lot of reasons, I don't recommend this, even though many therapists come to me and say, this is what I do. It works great. Good for you. I've had situations where I've had people calling me up saying, oh my gosh, this has become a nightmare. So, just I just want you to know your options. So what exactly is the super bill that you're talking about and what should be on it? So let's talk about invoices and statements versus super bill. I'm going to use those terms a little bit differently. So first of all, if a client wants any kind of a receipt, ask what it's for. If it's going to their insurance, you're going to put some more information and more private information on it. If it's just for their taxes and things like that, you're not going to put diagnosis codes. If they want it for some other reason, just for their own purposes, be careful not to put too private, like diagnosis codes on it and things like that. So a statement an invoice is just something that isn't going to go to insurance. Usually it's just a reflection of what they paid and charges, and you're not going to have a particularly diagnosis codes. A super bill is going to be something that they turn into insurance, and it has to have more information. So particularly diagnosis, as I said, remember to just write the code. Don't put the name of the diagnosis. You don't want their super bill to be laying around at their dining room table, and on it, it says major depression, and their kid walks in and sees the words major depression, right? So don't put any more information than you need to, which is just the code. And let's talk about Z codes. For those of you who don't work directly with insurance, you may not realize that most insurance plans do not reimburse for just a Z code. And a Z code are those diagnosis codes that used to be V codes in the old DSM, those phase of life issues, those parent-child problems, marital problems, things like that. Usually insurance is going to require something more than that before they will reimburse. So really think about that. I mean, you can try with just a Z code if that's all you've got. And I'm not ever suggesting that you change a diagnosis, but you may need to tell the clients, hey, this may not be covered by your medical insurance, and they may want to call. You're going to want to put CPT codes, place of service codes, modifiers. I'm going to show you a sample super bill. You might want to put who should receive the reimbursement. Now, the tip I have for everyone is get paid in full at each visit. I know a lot of therapists, particularly ones who've been around for a while, they do 4 sessions, and at the end of the month, they bill for the sessions. You know, the way that I think of this is there's very few businesses that people go to and they, you know, buy things on credit. I don't know why we allow that. We are in a very volatile industry. People get mad at us for not saving their marriages. People have financial situations with change. And when you're going to them at the end of the month with a large amount of money that you're asking, they may or may not be happy with you. They may not want to pay you. They may have dropped out of treatment. They may have lost their job. I think that this is something that we need to get clear about, that we collect at each visit, even if that's just keeping a credit card on file and running it at the end of the day. I know I pay some money for that, but for me to get paid each time is really worth it. Also, then I'm not spending time creating bills every month. I don't know why we spend that time. I never create bills for people. I never write bills because I'm getting paid each visit. Now, a couple of things about telehealth that has changed our statements. You should be using your office address. Even if you're sitting at home in your pajamas, you use your office address if you still have one on the form. That is absolutely fine on a super bill. Okay. Now, if you've given up your office, which so many of us have, this has become a big dilemma. Using your home address may be unwise. As you can imagine, having your home address floating around there on super bills, especially to clients who, you know, may or may not be unstable or have access to grind with you, that's probably not a great idea. Some therapists are comfortable with that. I would not recommend that. Many plans are rejecting super bills that have a PO box alone. So that's something that, you know, some people tried and they came back and were rejected. So this has led many of us to get fake offices addresses. Basically getting either a virtual office address like Regis or ipostal1.com, where you actually pay a monthly service to have a street address that's provided by a virtual office service. And then they forward your mail for you, or they scan it and send it to you, or different things like that. You might use colleague's office address. A lot of people are doing that. Someone who has kept their office. I have several I have several articles on giving up your office and things to think about. And these articles are at this page that I was talking about that I've created for you guys, theinsurancemaze.com. /Z. Just go there and I'm going to give you the links to those articles on giving up your office, things to think about. And yeah, there's 3 articles on that. So let's look at a sample Superbill. Here would be some pieces of a sample Superbill. I couldn't fit it all clearly onto one slide, but so you're going to have your client's name, possibly date of birth, and a diagnosis code. Okay, definitely be sure to include that. Now, well, let's go. So you're going to have the date for each line. You want each line to have a separate date. Don't be like 4 dates of service in October. I've seen that before. No, you need to have for each date, the insurance plan needs to be able to say, yes, we approve this, or no, we don't approve this. So individual lines need to have for each date of service. So this is one date of service would be this whole line. So you've got 1024, your place of service code. Now, many of you don't have a whole column for place of service code. I encourage you to get one or add one for this, especially with telehealth. Right now, we're going to talk more about the place of service code, but let's say the place of service code is 02. That's a telehealth modifier that has been the, place of service code. That has been the place of service code that tells the insurance plan that it was a telehealth session. 11 is the place of service code for office. And if you want to Google place of service codes, you can see all the different place of service codes. We'll talk a little bit more about telehealth place of service codes later. You're going to have your CPT code, and then you're also going to have your modifier. Modifier is another way you tell the insurance plan that this was a telehealth session. And right now, the modifier that's most commonly accepted is 95. So you'd be pretty safe putting 95 for all telehealth sessions. If it comes back and tells you that's not, well, I don't want to go there. And then if you have a service description situation, then always put video or telehealth or whatever. Again, you're just trying to be as transparent as possible that this was a video session, so that if the insurance plan doesn't want to cover it because it's a video session, I mean, you can't do anything about that, but you have to be transparent and not try to hide it. And then you'll see you're going to have your name, all your information, your tax ID number, your NPI. Go forward. And because you all came out for this training or are listening to the recording, at the one-stop shop, my landing page at theinsurancemaze.com/Z, I'm going to be giving you a free sample Superbill that you can use, and you can use it as an invoice too, just like the one we just looked at, except a whole page. And I'm also going to be giving away some freebie here, a handout for clients to check their out-of-network coverage. And you could use that if you want to do it for them, or you can just give it to them. And it's a great little handout where they can just know what questions to ask an insurance plan when they call to be sure they're getting the right information about their out-of-network coverage. And the links to all the articles mentioned, the slide handouts, if you didn't get them, will also be living on that page. And you can sign up for my email list if you want to. I would love to have you